So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the board of the Polo Hall of Fame Museum and the staff, I'd like to welcome you to the 14th annual induction ceremony. You'll notice we have a little, we got a little technology. We got this graphics up here, and along with that high-tech technology, just to speed this thing along this year, we've got this little thing here that I'm going to give to all the people who receive awards this year, especially for those of you here last year. We're going to give this to those folks before they start their speeches. It's a little 1-minute egg timer, okay? A little addition to our program. So at this time, without any further ado, I'd like to turn it over to our chairman, C.D. Orthwine.
Where do I put this, Tony?
You need to speak real close to this microphone.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Tony. Again, on behalf of the Museum of Polo and Hall of Fame and our board of directors, I would like to welcome each of you to this very special event, our 14th annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Tonight, our purpose is to honor 4 men and 2 horses for their outstanding contributions to our sport. But first, I would like to say a few words about our organization, its mission, and its challenges. The National Museum of Polo and Hall of Fame is a not-for-profit educational organization dedicated to fostering an appreciation of the development and traditions of the game by collecting, preserving, exhibiting, and interpreting its collections, as well as honoring those who have made outstanding contributions to the sport. To fulfill this mission, we are dependent on the contributions of our supporters. In order that we ensure our future, we are presently engaged in a capital endowment campaign to raise $2 million over the next 5 years. Thanks to a matching challenge pledge of up to $1 million from the Oxley Foundation and a number of other a number of other generous commitments, we are well on our way, but still have a substantial distance to go before we reach our goal. I ask each of you to support our mission and contribute what you can to the museum. Without your support, we risk losing much of the history and tradition of our game. The museum is a treasure for our polo community. Please help us. You know, the success of the museum and events like this don't just happen. They take the hard work and generosity of individuals. Right now, I would like to thank some of those who make tonight possible. First, let us thank our event chairs Patricia and Julian Hipwood, especially Patricia. Also, Brenda Lynn, our Director of Development, and George Dupont, our Executive Directors. They work hard every day for this museum, and especially tonight. Thank you, George and Brenda. And to Tim Gannon and Outback Steakhouse for the wonderful meal we've just enjoyed. And to Rick Salahi and the Oasis Winery for the delightful dinner wines. Sarah Halstead and Perrier Jouet for the champagne reception, and Richard Groves of Southern Wine and Spirits for donating the reception wine. To Sandy Goldman and the Chucker Collection for again donating the spectacular calendars at your seat. Melissa Gonzi and the Potemkin Foundation for their sponsorship of the museum's traveling exhibit. And also special thanks to Alex Pacheco for his wonderful exhibit photos, and Melinda Brewer for her Horses to Remember portraits. Finally, I don't know what we'd do without Marty Craig and Chase Design, who are the backbone of the exhibits and what you see here tonight. Thank you, Marty, and thanks to all of you who support this institution. This past year has been significant for the museum. We lost some wonderful friends whose memories we will always cherish. Past honorees at this event, Joe Barry and James Rice, and dear friends, Paul Rizzo, Joe O'Neill, and Babs Haas are now gone, but their legacy to our sport will live on. God bless them and their love of polo. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the Master of Ceremonies for the induction ceremony. He is an actor, he is an artist, and he is an MC extraordinaire. But most importantly, he loves polo and knows polo from deep within his soul. Mr. Doug Sheehan.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I'm speaking very fast because I think maybe Mr. Ambassador Glenn Holden would like to come up and continue his speech from last year. I think that it would be well advised to tell the Hipwood family that the board of directors is considering asking them to hire a retired Grenadier Guardsman who would stand upstage center, and if indeed he passes out and falls face down on the tarmac, the speaker will know it's kind of time to wind things up, you know. Well, to a lot of new faces and new friends, hi, I'm Doug Sheehan. My lovely wife Kate is back there at table 26 trying to kiss all of our old friends hello. This is the second year I've been back, and I must admit to you that I'm back having deluded myself into thinking that, for quite a while, into thinking that I had some talent or whatever as an MC, or, you know, had some sort of ability at the rapidly dying art of public speaking. But then it was pointed out to me by one of our honorees this evening that the only reason I'm back here tonight is because I actually am the rarest single commodity you could find at any polo club in the world. A sober MC. But before I continue with the awards this evening, I just think it's important, and I think that it would be naive at its least and simplistic at its most if I were not to point out that all of us are able to get together tonight in spite of a great specter of evil which hangs over the life path of us all. An evil and dark, sinister man who has been able to divide old friendships between nations, a man who has been able to co-opt our very media into buying himself time so that he can pursue his evil ambitions. And the man I speak of course, is Joe Millionaire. Reality TV. Let me tell you, it's all too real in the Sheehan household, ladies and gentlemen. My career and the careers of my colleagues hang like so many crucified corpses on the now unused television antennas which line the road of Exodus from Hollywood all the way up to Canada. And I never even got to say, I am Spartacus. Joe Millionaire. The show, for those of you that haven't seen it, is predicated on the idea of a young man walking up and going, hello, I'm Joe Millionaire and I've got $50 million in a castle. And that is supposed to get people to fall all over him. $50 million in a castle? There are high goal pros in this room that charge that for a single tournament. $50 million in a castle is the minimum requirement for a mere social membership at Gulfstream Polo Club. And look at the shows they're doing. Survivor. Okay, all of the talk about Survivor aside, let me just point out to you that this little point. The American Medical Association, the Census Bureau, the entire federal government just came out with the fact that 60% of the American population is severely obese. For those of you who would like to know what that means in politically correct terms, it means you're chubby till you die. 60%. Now, the show is predicated on the idea of taking a cross-section of the American public and putting them in a survivable situation. So tell me, how come all of them are cute little, tight little heart bodies? They interview the guys and they say, what's your name? Well, my name's Brad and I'm a biological consultant. Biological consultant means that he's a fitness trainer at 24 Hours of Fitness. They pick one plump middle-aged woman and she's voted off on the first week of the show when everybody's still watching the Super Bowl. You want reality TV? Do like the guy on CNN said. If you want a real game of Survivor, you get yourself a Subaru and you put California plates on it and a rainbow bumper sticker that says, I am gay and I'm here for your guns. And you try driving that sucker from Houston to El Paso. Survive that. Oh, and The Bachelorette. The Bachelorette is great. 100 sex-crazed men who would gladly cut each other's throats, all vying for the attention of a single blonde. Have they never been to a polo club on a Sunday night? You want reality in that show, you get yourself 50 fat, gray-haired, grizzled old men with monumental egos and a big checkbook. Let them play the game. Or even get her to come down here and groom for one. No, that'd be the same thing, wouldn't it? Pardon me, my dear. The gentleman at the end of the bar would like to buy you an automobile. The truth is, folks, I didn't come down here to rail about reality TV, but to point out some of the unrealities about it. And the other thing is that I came down here to explain to you in humble submission that because of reality TV, yet one more year has come and gone in which the world of polo, all too happily, let me add, has had to soldier on without the Sheehan family in its ranks. Okay, listen, I admit, mea culpa. I know I was not a very good player. I can live with that. I agree with the Palm Beach mullet rapper when they wrote their review about the No Macho Cup the year we won it. They said, watching Mr. Sheehan play polo is not unlike watching a Shetland pony lug around a 300-pound sea anemone. I can deal with that. That's fine, because I never had to watch me. In my mind's eye, I was suave, man. I was the style. In my mind, I made Indio's chop suey Louie Fooey look like F-Troop. I was good. And I don't even mind the fact that all those wonderful polo periodicals, for the 15 years I played polo, they did wonderful picture articles on Hollywood in polo. They did stories on Mr. William Devane and Miss Stephanie Powers and Mr. Sylvester Stallone and Tommy Lee Jones. And they looked at me and said, who? I got no problem with that. I feel much the same way. In fact, those people are my friends. I'll tell you, we are so tight. A lot of people don't know this. The teams that Tommy Lee Jones fields on the field, I am known as the fifth man. Oh, fine, laugh. Listen to this. They love to speak Spanish in his barn, right? Everybody here knows that they all speak Spanish in his barn. You go to his barn. If you pronounce his last name in Spanish, it is Jones. Jones. You go over there to his barn and you mention my name and they will say Cinco Jones. In the real and enduring and lasting aspects of polo, I've got to tell you, I thought we did pretty damn good. In the things that matter, the things that people remember, and the things that really last in polo, Kate and I, we partied damn good. We can get down with the best. And so when we got an invitation to come to this party, imagine our thrill, because we could come to friends we haven't met yet and to old friends we've known for so many years, and share with you our observations about what it's like to have to sort of pull out of polo for 3 or 4 years and look back at it, and share with you our thoughts about all of you. And all of you come to mind as a bunch of cheaters. Hello, I'm like 11 years old. I'm 6 goals, but they're going to lower me to 1 so I can take your place in the US Open, which is really cool because then I get to go skateboarding. Or my favorite, and here he is, little Rodriguito Buscaplata, following in his father's footsteps. Guito, as we call him, 9 goals in the arena and 0 on the grounds. Kiss my handicap. But it's the people in the world of polo that we miss the most. Cheaters, okay, that's the business aspect of polo. The other aspects, the first things that come to mind, when you think back in my life in polo and being vital and involved with it, I think cheap. Come on, guys, let's face it. Polo players, I mean, trying to get one of us to pay a vet bill is... I was just talking to Paul Wallerman just a minute ago, and he told... Oh. Sorry, I'll send you $5 a week. I'm sorry. But a diverse and an eclectic world. I mean, you can't believe polo people are as different and as grand as the entire globe over which, most of which, this wonderful game is played, and around which a lot of it, my wife and I, have gotten to come and visit and play with you. And we're very grateful for that. We came here tonight with the special intention of telling you that we are proud and honored to call you our friends. All but the umpires. Gotta draw a line somewhere. Those marvelous matriculators from Miss Marzipan's Mouth Breathing Academy. Do they know? Did they realize there are rules in the game of polo? Did they understand that I had a right to my side of the ball? No. It's all right. Times like this, I remember the words of my mentor, the great Aurelio Buscaplata. We were changing horses between the 13th and 14th chukkers of the Copacabana. I'm sorry I tell a lie. It was during the Queen's Cup. It was the quarterfinals of the Queen's Cup. I don't remember if it was in Key West or San Francisco that year. No, it was in Fire Island. I remember I won an award. I won an award for Best Paying Phony. They gave me a cooler. I drank it. In fact, I drank it from the Queen's Cup and he was pissed. But while we were changing, El Rizzo looked at me and he said, "Dog, if you can keep your head while all those around you are losing theirs, then you obviously don't appreciate the gravity of the situation." And it's about that I bring this discussion right now. The gravity of the situation. To those of you who are being honored tonight, please, please, don't let the fact that they brought in a semi-glib television has-been to rub a little bit of polish over some of the bumpy parts of an evening of great occasion. Don't let that deter you from keeping your focus on one single salient point. This building out here and the organization behind it are comprised of, and this room is jam-packed full of, people who feel it is vitally important to come here tonight and to honor and to thank you. So, as they say in the movie The Quiet Man, without further eloquence, I will now read the Hall of Fame nominating criteria. Any person shall be eligible for election to the Polo Hall of Fame who has contributed to the game in an extraordinary and honorable manner, whether by dedication to the sport or by ability and record as a player. Any person may be recommended for election to the Polo Hall of Fame by anyone in the polo community. All recommendations shall be submitted to the Museum of Polo and Hall of Fame in writing, accompanied by a biographical resume of the candidate and the specific reasons for such recommendations. The name of any person not elected in the year of recommendation may be resubmitted. Our first Polo Hall of Fame nominee tonight is Delmar Del Carroll. Del Carroll was considered one of the greatest offensive players of his era, earning him the nickname Mr. Speed. One of his most remarkable talents was the ability to take a ball the length of the field and score, making him a real spectator favorite. Del was first rated 8 goals in 1949 and holds the distinction of being handicapped at 8 for 10 consecutive years. He attained the 9-goal rating in the arena. During his 44 years of polo, Del Carroll played in nearly every major tournament, winning U.S. Open championship titles in 3 different decades, 1959, 67, and once again in 1974. In 1973, he won both the National 20 goal and the National 16 goal. His teams won the 1948 Senior Championship as well as the 1939 National 12 goal. In 1950, he was selected for the USA team and participated in the 40-goal Cup of the Americas. He was a renowned horseman and one of the first players in America to selectively breed thoroughbred horses for polo prospects. In fact, his legendary polo pony named Magazine sired many horses still competing in the game today. And now, before I introduce Robin Carroll, Del Carroll II, and Robin's son, Del Walton Carroll, I would like to invite Bill Ilbesacker to come up here and say a few words about his buddy.
Hey, Doug, you're a great guy, but it's hell to follow you. It really is. It's nice to have you back. I just want to thank Steve Orthwine and all the others responsible for this evening, Tim Cannon, Track, so on, for putting this on. It's probably the best Polo Hall of Fame dinner we've ever had since my time. So somebody did a lot of work, and it's a lot of fun, and it's great to see everybody. There's nothing like the sport of polo for the friendship that comes with it, you know. You go in games and you get mad and this and that, and you lose or you get beat up. But when you get it all over with it, you know, you've got buddies all around and friendship and with the wives and the families, and there's nothing like it. I've known Del Carroll for a long time. As a matter of fact, I was at Lawrenceville School, and they had a polo team. That was a prep school, and I think I was about 15, 16. And I had a chance to meet him. We went up to play in a place called Ramapo, which a lot of you people have never heard of, I'm sure of that. And here was Del. He was playing for the Pennsylvania Military Academy. And he was just some player you wouldn't believe. He was around that ring scoring goals from every place, knocking people down, which was kind of his trade. But he was a spectacular player. I can go so far as to say I don't think I've ever known a better horseman. He used to show at Madison Square Garden. He was showing jumpers, and then he'd go in the high jump event, jumping 7 feet and that kind of stuff. And he always came out on top. He was a fearful player, I'll tell you that. I was lucky to play with him all the time, or most of the time. When I played against him once, and I remember him coming at me down across the field, and I saw a look out of the corner of my eye, and I said, "That's Del." Boy, I pulled up my horse and stopped. Because nobody could hit you harder than he could. He put everybody down, just because they know how to make a horse maneuver and so on. But he was a great guy. He worked very, very hard. I lived a half a mile from him. He had a little farm, and I had a little farm in Chicago outside the Arlington Farms Polo Club. And Del was up, you know, in the mornings, 4 o'clock, you know, he would work his ponies. He'd go to the racetrack, train his horses, come back and play polo. And we won everything we could win. We won the East-West matches. Thanks to him, really. He played 1 and 8 goals, which was, how many people would play 1 and 8 goals? And we won them on a Waterbury. I think it was 34 goals, something like that. But I have never enjoyed playing with anybody anymore, or respected anybody anymore than Del as a horseman. And he raised a good family, and he had a great time and a great life. And I would always pay great tribute to him for what he did for me and what we did together and the great times we had. So that's all I can say.
Ladies and gentlemen, Robin Carroll, Del Carroll II, and Robin's son, Del Walton Carroll. Please come up.
Thank you very much. We're all very proud to be here and very nervous. My son, Del Carroll Walton, my daughter, Laura Boswick, and my baby sister, Larkspur Carroll. My family and I would first like to thank the Museum of Polo and the Hall of Fame for honoring our dad, Del Carroll, with this grand award. For those of you not familiar with our dad, I'd like to give you a brief history. My dad was raised on a dairy farm in Pennsylvania. As a teenager, he worked at various stables and then started schooling and showing jumpers. He then attended Pennsylvania Military College, and it was there his love for polo developed. The man that taught my dad to play polo first made him sit on a fence and be able to hit the ball perfectly from every angle before he was ever allowed on a horse with a mallet. In 1937, Dad played his first tournament game on Pegasus team. He replaced Cyril Harrison and played with Buddy Combs, who was rated 7 goals, and Dr. Tommy Lawrence, who was rated 5 goals. After this game, playing with no handicap, the local newspaper was quoted as saying, "Del Carroll would surely be rated 2 goals." This was the beginning of Dad's illustrious polo career, as he would rise to be 9 goals indoors and 8 goals outdoors until his untimely death in 1982. The racehorses were his livelihood, and polo was his passion and relaxation. He was up every morning at the track with the first set out before dawn, 365 days a year. He trained a multitude of great horses, one of which was BBB, who was owned by polo player Will Farish. Together they won the Preakness in 1972. At the end of a long day, seemingly exhausted, he would drive to Polo. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see him fighting to stay awake, but he always assured me he was fine. At the peak of exhaustion, the average person would just as soon sit down in a quiet place and kick up their feet. Not my dad. The polo field was his quiet place. On the field, he would be rejuvenated and he would come alive. He had unbelievable nerves of steel. Anyone that played with him would tell you, the play was his, he'd just as soon go over you than around you. His eye was keen and he could score at any angle and any speed. His ability to ride and play horses fresh off the track was second to none. Full steam ahead and going flat out was how my dad's preference to play. Del Carroll was known to most as a mystery man, a man of few words. However, his overwhelming presence never required words. Not once in my life did my dad ever really raise his voice to me. Not that I wasn't deserving, but the mere glimpse of his eye, the expression, said more than words could ever say. My father had a natural ability to ride and handle any horse. He had a devotion to horses unsurpassed to none. He lived, he breathed, and he died horses. On behalf of the Carroll family, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude for this cherished honor. Thank you very much.
Del Carroll, my grandfather. I feel like I know him from all the stories his friends and family told me, but I never met him. He died 8 months before I was born. I deeply regret not ever knowing him. I am certainly proud and honored to be a part of his heritage and follow in his footsteps. He was a man who was deeply respected in Polo world for his talent. Hopefully, in the years to come, I can achieve a fraction of what my grandfather accomplished. Thank you so much for honoring him with this award. I only wish he was here to accept it himself.
During the 1960s and 70s, Benny Gutierrez was one of the highest rated players to grace a polo field. He attained an 8-goal handicap in 1968 in an era when there were no American 10-goal players. In the 1970s, he was one of the top 5 in handicap. He was respected for his consistency, his terrific mallet work, and for his competitiveness on the polo field. His fine reputation as a consummate horseman, both on and off the field, can be attributed to his intuitive knowledge and care of his and other players' horses. His numerous club and USPA sanctioned tournament victories made him a much sought-after teammate. His major titles include the 1972 U.S. Open Championship, the 1960 and 67 National 20-goal, the 1967, 69, and 71 National 16-goal, as well as several Sunshine League championships. When America decided to send their best to Argentina to play in the 1969 Cup of the Americas, Benny was selected for and played with distinction on the USA team. Benny continued his involvement in polo by training exceptional polo ponies and managing high-goal polo teams. Ever dedicated to improving the sport of polo, he helped organize the professional umpiring program. He served as the USPA's first chief umpire and was honored in 1993 as Umpire of the Year. Here is Steve Orthwine to present to Benny.
The formal biography that Doug just read of Benny only partially tells the story of why this man is very deservingly being inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight. I have known Benny for a good many years. As a matter of fact, my dad, my brother Peter, and I were on that first national 16-goal championship team back in 1967 when he single-handedly carried our team to victory. What a player and what a team leader he was. But Benny's contribution to polo is much more than just as a great player. Some 10 or 12 years ago, the USPA was trying to initiate a professional umpire program to help improve the standard and consistency of officiating and to help solve some of the numerous disciplinary issues we were having at that time. Quite honestly, the program got off to a very rough start. We couldn't seem to recruit the best qualified umpires. We couldn't get the players to support or have confidence in the program, and the whole effort appeared to be going nowhere. That was until we hired Benny Gutierrez as chief umpire. Immediately, the program turned around. He recruited the best individuals and inspired the confidence of both the players and his fellow umpires. Under his leadership, a training procedure was begun to improve consistency, and both by his example and determination, the reputation of the program for integrity and quality began to grow. Today, his legacy is an umpiring program in this country that is the model for the world. On behalf of the Museum of Polo and Hall of Fame, I am proud to present Benny Gutierrez with the Induction Award. Till you get finished. Okay? All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, what an act to follow, huh? I asked Stevie, what do I talk about? He said, about 5 minutes. But I would be more comfortable if I was sitting on a horse with a whistle in my hand, rather than up here with this piece of paper. However, you have honored me, and I'm here to accept your kindness. I wish to thank those who shaped and supported my career, and there are many loved ones who are responsible for me being here, some of whom will have to listen very carefully from up there. In my era, and with a humble upbringing, boys just did not have the opportunity to stick and ball or play polo. Dutch Avenger gave me a chance to do both. Bert Beveridge was my first patron, and one hell of a guy. When I was drafted into the Army for 2 years, which we all did, he still paid my wages, and when I got out, he made a down payment on our house. That goes beyond the call of duty. My two main mentors who taught me to play were Harold Berry, and my biggest influence on and off the field, George Oliver. George was sometimes father, older brother, favorite uncle, and often tyrant. Strict and vocal on the field, George would chew on you till you got it right. I remember one game I was having a difficult time with my back shots. We backed the ball then. The field was bouncy, and I heard him yell, "Let's have it, let's have it."
I swung at that damn thing as hard as I could, straight into his chest. It was a quiet game after that. George started me off buying my own horses, and everything went fine until 1975 when I had my major wreck. I am indebted to Del Carroll, with whom I am privileged to share this evening's honor. It was he who pulled the horse off of me. Everyone thought he had gotten hurt in doing so. He dismissed it all. He said, I pulled so hard that I slipped and fell on my horse. I have been privileged to work for some great people, among them Bob Eline, Fred Fortuno, Peter Brandt, Steve Goes, and Memo Gracita. Peter Brandt resurrected my career. I would not have returned to play high goal polo without him. After my playing career, Steve Orthwine asked me about heading the professional umpire program for the USPA. I was reluctant. I talked to George about it and told him, well, maybe I would try it. He said, don't go in there to try it. You go in there with the intention of making it work. For 7 years, I worked to develop the professional umpire program with a lot of help from George Alexander and Jim McGowan. Gene Fortuno was with me on the front lines from the early days on. Let me tell you, it wasn't always fun. Throughout my whole career, I've aimed to bring dignity, integrity, and loyalty to the game I love, and kindness to my horses that made it all possible for me. Those fine words would mean nothing without the care and love of my family. Kay has always been with me, much stricter than I am. Black and white are second nature to that lady. She followed me to wherever I was playing. As soon as school finished, the kids and dogs were loaded in the car and off she would go for the summer months with me. To you, Kay, to my family, and to all my friends in Polo, which has been my lifeblood for half a century, I thank you for honoring me tonight.
The Philip Igleheart Award is given to acknowledge exceptional lifetime contributions to the sport of polo, either on a regional or a national level. A true benefactor of the sport, Willis Allen Sr. fostered the development and growth of polo on the West Coast. Willis was one of the original founders of several prominent California polo clubs, including El Dorado in Palm Desert, Lake Farms in Indio, Rancho Santa Fe, and he continues the tradition of support and play today at the age of 90 years old in Lakeside. Willis has served as a USPA governor from '69 to '74 and played on numerous national and international teams. He continues to raise top quality award-winning polo ponies and was the sponsor of the national title winning youth team from San Diego. According to many, Willis's enthusiasm for the sport is infectious. Still playing polo at the age of 89, his love of the game, well, he's 90, sorry. His love of the game keeps him in the saddle and others playing along beside him, and I am very proud to have been one of them. And for that reason, I asked, and have been asked by Willis, to accept the award on his behalf this evening. And it crosses my mind as I stand here, and Benny so lovingly talked about some of his early benefactors, and Kate and I were so blessed to get into polo, not only because it was the Reagan years, but because I got to know so many fathers of so many of the wonderful players here, and these were the true old men of polo. And when Willis came up for this award, it suddenly dawned on me what it was I love about these men and their company. This is a generation of men, and you know whose fathers I'm talking about, but this was a generation of men that came through a terrible depression, fought through a world war, and still came and kept polo going on this planet. And my friend Willis, who is 90 years old and really should be my younger brother because he needs adult leadership, has 4 generations of his family all playing polo right now in California. And the thing that dawns on me is that not only did these guys play polo back when you used to see an actual curb chain on the field, they played polo having gone through the most decimating and terrifying part of life, and they played it with a sense of larceny. They knew that they're not entitled to polo. They knew that polo was a privilege. And they giggled their way through polo, and they still play to this day with love and laughter. And we need a whole lot more of that in the game today. Are we good to go? Are we just about good to go, Marty? I went to Willis's house. He can't be here tonight because he's suffering from and needing medical attention.
I'm actually here right now with the legendary Willis Allen, legend in his own right. Now, you understand, I think, that you have been awarded the Philip Igleheart Award for contributions to the world of polo. I understand that. Well, it's kind of odd because this is probably the first time since I've known you in our long friendship that I've ever heard the terms Willis Allen and contribution ever put in the same sentence. For those of you who might not have heard Mr. Allen, they've just discovered a mass inside his throat, and they did a biopsy on it 3 days ago and found it to actually be the first dollar that he ever made in his life. But they're going to have to remove it through the other end, so he's not speaking right now. Probably out of shyness or anything. So if we run this down, buddy, it's contributions, which you've never made any of in your entire life, other than like the day I broke my leg and you held my horse for me. By the way, I'd like to get that horse back sometime. Is he dead? With Philip Igleheart. Now, I knew Philip Igleheart. Philip was an 8-goal player, but then you were a 1-goal player for 8 years, so I figured that must be, get in. You're now playing on 12 to 13 goal. You're a 12T, is that right? At the Lakeside Polo Club?
What is a 12T?
Temporary 12. They want to bump you up to 13. Yeah. A lot of your students will be watching this. The Garcia brothers will be there. Of course, you owned the entire country of Argentina at one time before you sold it for an immense profit. So, but this is the American Museum of Polo. It's the Philip Igleheart Award, and I can't think that the word excellence could possibly be in there. Could you? Contributions to the world of polo. Well, we all know that you've basically run polo for the last 15, 20 years. The World of Polo, at World Headquarters. World Headquarters, High in Julian, California. So, anyhow, what I thought maybe you would like to say something to the wonderful folks that will be at this black tie dinner. I see you put on your very best bib and tucker, and maybe we could get you to just eke out a few words until... The other thing is, when you earned that first dollar that's still in there, I don't think Andrew Jackson actually meant it when he said, "I hope you choke on it, USOB." All right, cut.
Anyway,
I'm going.
I want to thank you all, but I have wonderful news for you. Due to my throat, I cannot speak. Thank you. Enough.
A little bit longer than Glenn Holden's, but I think you're okay.
A little bit more shorter.
And Willis, buddy, I'm telling you, I am very honored to accept this on your behalf, and I'm going to be home as soon as I can with your award, pal. This fabulous Ronish bronze. Anything else, I'll just keep. Please, as they say in the under 65 group, put them together for Mr. Tony Cabela.
Thanks, Chuck. Joe Rizzo helped to rekindle the flame of polo that was nearly extinguished after World War II. His horsemanship and enthusiasm earned him not only a place on the polo field, but the respect and endorsement of his fellow players. For nearly 50 years, his Huntington and West Hills polo clubs provided a welcoming place for aspiring players to learn and appreciate the rudiments of the sport. Long after his polo playing days ended, Joe became a friend, coach, and mentor to a wide range of players. Literally hundreds of men and women, myself included, can attest that Joe put them on a horse and placed the first mallet in their hands. His philosophy was if one really wanted to play polo, it could be done without too much regard to cost. At this time, I'd like to welcome Peter Rizzo to introduce his dad, Joe Rizzo.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for all attending this special evening tonight, honoring and remembering our most cherished people and well-beloved horses. My father, Joe Rizzo, really had no business choosing a career in polo. He's the son of an Italian immigrant and second youngest of 15 children. You could say that when he was growing up on the streets of Astoria, New York, he was a sure bet not to ever mount up on a polo pony, let alone play in those fabled golden era fields like the ones at Meadowbrook Polo Club, located about 1 million miles from his home. But in America, this great land of ours, anything can happen. After the United States entered World War II, Joe enlisted into the U.S. Army Cavalry. He participated in our landing in Normandy and saw that war to its conclusion as a member of the new mechanized, and for him, sadly, horseless cavalry. After Joe returned from the war in 1946, this ex-cavalryman opened up a horse stable and polo club. This time, he was located just east of the Meadowbrook Polo Club. As many of you know, after World War II, there was very little polo being played in the United States. It seemed that very few possessed the means, let alone the desire, to play this most ancient of games. Joe had little in the way of means, but he sure did possess a whole lot of desire. So along with a brother or two and a few good friends, he created a polo center in what became the middle of suburbia. Joe enjoyed playing polo and training his polo ponies. He encouraged his family and friends to play along with him too. His enthusiasm for polo allowed people from all walks of life to participate. My father was an equal opportunity kind of guy. All that mattered to him was that a prospective player could ride a horse and was motivated to have some fun. Over the years, Joe's love of people, polo, and polo ponies rubbed off on a whole lot of men, women, and children, impacting their lives in many positive ways. His West Hills Polo Club has survived more than 50 years, introducing literally hundreds to the sport, some of whom are here tonight to honor my father and his efforts on behalf of the sport of polo. Not only did he play on those legendary fields at Meadowbrook Polo Club, he and his club supplied many new players who continue, for now at least 4 generations, to compete there and elsewhere today and into the future. I'd also like to single out another West Hills Polo graduate, Tina Shear. Tina, is she here somewhere? Stand up. I'd like to thank Tina for prompting this remembrance of Joe for this award. A closing thought, one of my father's friends was a man by the name of Philip Igleheart, one of the founding fathers of this Polo Museum and Hall of Fame. Mr. Igleheart liked Joe's modest ideas about reviving polo on Long Island so much that he built Joe and his club a full-size arena at West Hills. It's funny how these things come around full circle sometimes. That really is life, especially for our very small extended polo family. Tonight, my father, the G.I. Joe of polo, is about to receive the Philip Igleheart Award for lifetime contributions to our sport. I'd like to thank Mr. Igleheart for giving this wonderful place to house our memories and for giving my father that vote of confidence back then. And I'd like to thank you all for giving Mr. Igleheart's award to my father tonight. I'm very proud of him and of this sport. Thank you. Here's Joe Rizzo.
to say, but it's a great honor to do something you like to do and want to do, and to be honored for it. It's mind-boggling. I want to thank all my friends and my family for supporting me. Thank you so much.
And now it is time to acknowledge our noble equine polo partners. The two horses selected by our committee were quite special. Both were played by High Goal Hall of Fame players. Our first recipient of the Polo Hall of Fame's Horse to Remember Award is Alabama. Alabama was played by Hall of Famer Joe Barry and owned by another Hall of Famer, Steve Gose. This impressive gray gelding was a two-time winner of the Hartman Award for the best playing pony in the U.S. Open Championships of 1979 and 79. And here are Steve Gose and Sharon Barry.
Well, you know, when it says owner, that's the least of it in polo. Joe made his horse, and Sharon rode the horse, and I'm sure Joe Wayne was there somewhere. Got to have these berries. First polo I played was with my brother-in-law Tommy Hasty and Harold and Joe when Joe was in high school, so I'd known him a day or two. But anyway, this was a great horse, and Joe loved that horse. And he was typical of the horses that Joe had that he liked best because he was a big horse. And Alabama, I think, was a thoroughbred that came from a doctor down in, where did he come from?
I think he came out of Harold from a man in Austin.
A man in Austin, a doctor, we think, and a thoroughbred horse. But Alabama was a beautiful gray gelding, and Joe played him, and I never will forget one day I was practicing on another against him because we were trying to make two teams and we were short of players, so, okay, Steve, you play against Joe. Well, when you went to Alabama, Joe had all his horses that were good horses, and if they weren't good, he didn't keep them very long, I can tell you, having mounted him for a few years. This horse, you would start to him, and he automatically took you. I don't even think Joe he'd already had him trained so well, he took you, and he was about almost 16 hands, wasn't he, Sharon? He was a great horse, and so Joe kept telling me, Steve, you got to play this horse, you got to play him. So I played him one day in a practice game, and it's like riding a volcano. But a volcano with a great mouth. I mean, you could pick him up just like a little horse, that had the best mouth you ever rode. And I got through, and Joe said, well, what do you think? And I said, golly, he was something. But he was so special, and it's a great thing that Joe's just gone and left us and for a better place. And we thank Joe for all his contributions and his family, and I get a little teary with Joe because he was a good buddy and I loved him. And Joe, you know, like all of us family feuders in polo, Joe could get a little warm at times, you know, and he wasn't a bit averse to hollering at me, no matter if I was a sponsor. It didn't make a darn bit of difference. He stopped me one day and said, "Hey, Steve, do you want to be better or do you want to just keep playing like a dummy?" And I said, "No, I want to be better." But Joe was not averse, and neither was Memo and some of the great guys I've played with. But Joe had some real horses, and Alabama was one of the greatest he ever had. And I just thank you for this award, because it's certainly well deserved. And thanks, everybody.
Alabama was a great horse, and we were very privileged to have him, and to have Steve as our sponsor and friend, and to be able to play him as many years as we did. Alabama was retired and spent his final days on a ranch in Arizona with a very good friend of mine. He was just a wonderful horse. Some people ask me why we kept the mane on him, and I said because we wanted to win the best playing pony. And that was the truth. He was a great horse, but we just thought the mane might add a little bit. So we thank you all.
Thank you.
The part of Joe Wainberry was just played by some fashion model from New York. Our next horse to remember is Delta Dawn. This great gray mare was owned by Hall of Famer Norm Brinker, played by Hall of Famer Roy Berry. She was also made, I've just been informed, by Hall of Famer James Rice for Hall of Famer Cecil Smith. She was the winner of the Hartman Award for Best Playing Pony in the 1974 U.S. Open Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, here to accept the award is our old buddy, Norman Brinker.
Well, all I can say is if Delta Dawn could speak English and were alive today, she'd just look at me and say, "What the hell happened to you?" I guess I'd say I have no answer, but Delta Dawn was a wonderful animal. I've received a lot of awards in my life, but this is one of the most touching ever. I got a call one day in 1974 from Cecil Smith. He said, "Norman, I have here a wonderful animal that you ought to have." And he said, Charles, my son Charles, has been playing her, and she says that she is incredible. I said, "I will just take that animal sight unseen." So up comes Delta Dawn, and she was incredible. Roy Berry played her 2 chukkers every single game. In 1974, when she won the Best Playing Polo Pony, he played her 2 chukkers. And then when I would see him come out on her on the 6th chukker, I would always say, "Boy, we're in for it now." Because he and Delta Dawn were quite a pair. And that's what we're all about, isn't it? Making quite a pair and a partnership. Well, unfortunately, when I retired her, she resented being a mother. I said, "Gosh, you're just like some other people I know." But we got 2 or 3 colts from her. One is called Little Delta that I played in a number of opens, and she was tremendous also. So Delta Dawn played a big part in my life in the polo world, and what a wonderful, wonderful animal, and how she didn't lunge, she didn't jump, she was quick, fast, strong, and had tremendous stamina. And Roy Berry played her 2 chukkers every single game for about 9 years when he needed her. So that's my friend, Delta Dawn.
Put that on the
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna go.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me put these damn things on.
Okay.
Carry it over there. Well,
And I sure as heck remember trying to get that. I remember losing there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. We're going to introduce a new custom to this evening's ceremony, and you will be listening to, and I will be singing the international anthem of Polo, the brand new international anthem of Polo. If the ladies would put their hands gently on their décolletage, and if the gentlemen would cross their fingers and put them on their wallets. When I was in the barn stalls the other day, some ladies came up to me and they told me of something they'd been dying to say. They were half crazy, some with the giggles and some with fear over something they've been longing to tell you all year. Please take off your clothes, cambioso. The girls want to see you naked, to see your popo, to view your winky. I hope you've washed it and it's not stinky. Now take off your clothes and play polo, and give us your near side back shot. It's just so macho, so very bravo. But if that horse props, best watch your wave-o. Have I said too much? Have I gone too far? What the hell, it's a party with an open bar. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Doug Sheehan. I think you'll have to agree he's been a wonderful, wonderful MC. And at this time, I had a few things I was going to say, but I can't follow that. So let's everybody get on the floor. We got John Catt in the band, and let's have a good time party.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you forgot one more thing. One big round of applause for George and Brenda.